So for our last day of our Comparative Religion Unit, I thought I'd work your brain a little bit. And what I hope you learned today in class was Pascal's wager, the golden rule and how it applied to different religions, and some quotes that I wanted you to think about. So starting off class, we looked at Pascal's wager. Now, Blaise Pascal was a French mathematician, and you might be asking yourself the question, what's a mathematician doing fiddling with theology and religion? Well, he did, and I'll tell you, his wager is still very influential, still very controversial, and philosophically flawed in some respects, which I'll show you in a minute. But it's a fairly simple model. Now, there are two possible outcomes: that God exists or God doesn't exist. Fairly simple. And you have two fundamental choices. You can believe in God or you don't believe in God. Now, if you think about it, if God doesn't exist, it's really small potatoes here. So if you believe in God and God doesn't exist, you might have been spending hours in a synagogue or a mosque or a church that you could be doing something else. But quite honestly, the music was pretty. You had some coffee and donuts, you made some friends. Really no big deal one way or the other. Now, if God doesn't exist and you don't believe in God, you slept in while other people are in church praying, you were mowing the lawn. Real small potatoes here. So if you look at the other side, these are not small potatoes. Now, if God does exist and you don't believe, hell, infinitely bad, nothing you'd wish on anybody. Now, if God does exist and you believe in God, it's infinitely good. You get heaven. So let's use some logic here. Let's use some mathematics. Even if there's a 0.01% that God exists, wouldn't a logical person believe? So that was the wager. They're saying, hey, if you're going to make the bet whether God exists or doesn't exist, you better bet on God existing. Now, I had people look at this, and there's a little taste of philosophy, seeing if anybody had the philosophy bug, if anybody was going to take my upperclassman philosophy class. But there are 9 fundamental flaws with Pascal's wager. Now, weakness number 1, is believing in God sufficient for salvation? I don't know, but you can certainly argue that. Weakness number 2, which God? Now, are you talking Christian God? Are you talking Allah? Are you talking any other religious structure? Is it just Christianity? There's argument number 2. Weakness number 3, does any human belief matter? Does it have to be religious in nature? Is it just belief in general? Is it, how do you believe in that God? There's an argument. Now, this one's the controversial one. Is heaven better than hell? So, for example, if you perceive heaven as being one long church service, even if you enjoyed church service, I don't know if anybody would wish to have 24-hour-a-day church services. Or another argument, if you are in heaven and you have a loved one here on earth that doesn't make it there with you, how can you enjoy it knowing they'll never be there with you? So in a sense, is heaven necessarily better than hell? Controversial, got some people worked up, and I don't blame them. That's an interesting argument. Weakness number 5. If you're making somebody, think about it, can you make yourself believe? Can you force this? Now, if Pascal's saying, hey, fool, better do it, cover your backside, force yourself to do it, in a sense, can you force somebody to believe in that respect? And weakness 6, is this fundamentally a greedy decision? I mean, if God is all-knowing, he knows our intentions, he knows our mind, he knows we're doing it just for selfish motives, is it valid? I don't know. Weakness number 7, can we guess God's criteria for salvation? I don't know. Weakness 8, is the probability that God exists greater than 0? For my math people to fiddle with. And I think the nicest argument that I got was God is just, that people are fundamentally flawed, and that there's a God that's open-minded and brings us all in, and we're all his children and forgives us. And that was a good argument. So again, Pascal's wager, interesting thought, influential item, but there's certainly some holes in the lineup. And Calvin saw the flaws in Pascal's wager. Here's Calvin talking to Hobbes. Well, I've decided I do believe in Santa Claus, no matter how preposterous he sounds. Well, what convinced you? A simple risk analysis. I want presents, lots of presents. Why risk not getting them over a matter of belief? Heck, I'll believe anything they want. How cynically enterprising of you. It's the spirit of Christmas. So in a sense, little Calvin got it. So moving on. Something a little easier than Pascal's wager is the golden rule. Now, the golden rule, I have some primary sources here. These are from 8 different religious traditions, and if you read these, they're very, very similar. From the Gospel of Matthew, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye so to them. For this is the law of the prophets, the Gospel of Matthew. I'll go to Buddhism. Hurt not others in ways that you yourself would not find hurtful. You can bounce around. It's essentially the same. I'll go to Taoism. Regard your neighbor's gain as your gain and your neighbor's loss as your own loss. Even the ancient Zoroastrian religion, that nature alone is good, which refrains from doing another whatsoever is not good for itself. You can see that these 8 religions essentially have the same idea. Now, this is called an archetype. It's a big idea that's encompassing of many, many people. So here's the question I'm going to ask you. Here's your essay question for 2 days from now, and here it is verbatim. I'm going to ask you, read the sheet on the golden rule, which I read the majority of it. Do you feel this archetype can be the basis of peace between the religions? Do you feel there is a chance of peaceful coexistence, or will there always be contention? Contention means fighting between them. Make a claim and back it up with what you've learned in class and in your history. So the question you have to ask yourself, because we all essentially have this golden rule idea in our religious traditions, is there a chance to get along, and at what scale? On a personal scale, on a school scale, on a national scale? What causes fighting? What causes contention? What causes difficulty? At the same time, be positive. What examples of coexistence? So I want you to formulate a thought. Is there a chance for peace, and at what level, at what scale? Or will there be fighting? And again, you can allude to the Crusades. You can allude to tensions between religions and infighting, or you can talk about people being very ecumenical and open-minded. I'm going to leave this up to you, but I want you to think about this, because this is not an essay I just want to throw at you on test day. I want you to really mull it over in your head. And the second essay I'm going to ask you is to read a bunch of quotes and support, extend, or challenge these claims. And these are a couple, actually, this is a big variety of opinions regarding religion. I want you to take one of them and support it. Say, absolutely, here's why. Extend, well, you know what, somewhat I need to explain it a little deeper, or challenge. This person's full of hooey. This person, I don't buy with anything they're saying. So in short, how do you see religion as a force in the world in terms of history and in geopolitics? And wide range here. Religion is the opium of the people, not a sunny way to view religion. Opium, it will keep them numb the pain. They'll be essentially, metaphorically stoned. That's not particularly up on religion. He was, father of communism. That's no surprise. All religions are true, but none are literal, from the philosopher Joseph Campbell, meaning within people's hearts, religion is very, very true and very meaningful. It's not literal. It's not history. It's more myth. So this is somewhere in between. And then I have texts from the religious traditions, from Christianity, from Buddhism, from Hinduism, from Islam, from Judaism. My personal favorite, if I were on your side of the desk, would be this one. When Rabbi Hillel said this on one leg: that which is despicable to you, do not do to your fellow man. This is the whole of religion, and the rest is commentary. So, and learn it. So I'm going to leave this up to you, but again, the main thing is formulate a strategy. I'm giving you a couple days to get things in order. Okay, these are challenging questions. Reflect. Don't go in there blindly. Start with a claim. So look at either that quote or, how do you see religion, and have a definitive claim and assertion. State your case and back it up with evidence. You're too old to say, well, it's because I feel this way, and it's because I feel this way, and feel like that's cute. Maybe when you're younger, back your claims and your assertions up with evidence. That's what you adults do. So get used to doing that, and have some clarity of thought. Don't be vague and go, these are some heavy, issues, some heavy thought processing. Be clear, be explicit, get it down. You certainly can practice a couple times, and show independent thinking. Think for yourself. You have a good mind, use it. So this ends the new material. Tomorrow we will review, and then the following day we will have our exam on comparative religion, and I'm hoping people do really well. Thank you for watching.